Welcome back to the show. Picking up where we left off, recent studies indicate LGBTQ youth actually comprise nearly 40% of the homeless youth population in New York City. Now, New Alternatives actually increases the self-sufficiency of LGBTQ plus homeless youth, and they also help young adults by enabling them to transition out of the shelter system to live stable adult lives. We're pleased to have with us the director of New Alternatives for homeless LGBT youth. We've got Kate Barnhart. And Kate, thank you so much for being with us.
Sure, thanks for having me.
And as we talk about LGBTQ youth, we do understand that there's a crisis out there, a lot of basic needs. And sometimes we take for granted the fact that these needs are, what they are and how they really impact a person. So from your perspective, can you make us more acquainted with the fact of what LGBTQ youth are dealing with and some of the needs that they may have?
Sure. I mean, one of the fundamental things our young people are dealing with is just trying to stay alive. There are a lot of risks that homeless young people face out there. You've got folks who are, trying to prey on them, trafficking people and pimps. You also have the risk of HIV and other illnesses. You have the risk of depression and suicide. So there's really a wide range of things that can happen to young people. And so we try to get hold of people before they get into those situations and help them develop a better way of getting through their lives.
Yeah. Well, not only do you latch onto them, but you do stay connected to them. And I know that it's an ongoing process, the case management. How is it working? Because sometimes we do understand that youth are really hard to connect with and stay in touch with. How have you been making out with case management?
Well, we find we have a pretty high success rate of being able to consistently engage young people. I think it's because we use a model where we put their needs first so that they come to us and tell us what they want to work on instead of us the other way around. A lot of times people approach young people as though I'm the adult and I'm going to tell you what you need. And that pushes young people away. And so we start with what they want to work on. And then as we work on that, we build trust and they come to see us as helpful people. And then we can start to bring up some of the stuff they don't want to work on.
Well, some of the stuff they may not want to work on are those basic life skills, right? I think that when we think about our young people, a lot of people say, listen, they're already advanced, they know, but sometimes they're not as skilled as we would want them to be. And so what are some of the skill sets that you're working with them in developing so that way they can become more productive in society?
A lot of what we work on is stuff that many people get from their families growing up, but not everyone, and especially not young people who grow up in foster care. And a significant number of homeless young people have, aged out of the foster care system into homelessness. So, a lot of what we work on is emotional self-regulation, communication, managing conflict. But we also work on some other stuff. We do resumes, and we do we have people who are working in different fields come and talk to the young people about how they got into their career. And we've had people from Snapchat and BuzzFeed and all kinds of places come and talk to the youth.
When we talk about your work, I know that you've been heavily involved in HIV and AIDS, and some of the stuff that you're doing also deals with testing and prevention. How are young people are these LGBT youth really receptive when it comes to hearing the message of prevention and even going as far as having tests?
Well, testing, we definitely get enough people doing. We have a real HIV epidemic among this population. About a third of the clients we see are already HIV positive. And so I think that there's an understanding there, but sometimes following through on what you already know can be a challenge. And so, we have to really keep working with the young people on prevention and on, they might want to demonstrate that they really care about somebody by not being safe with them because they're like, oh, you're my, you're not the casual person. You're the one I really care about. And so we have to, get past that and work with them on, negotiating safer sex and talking to their partners.
Yeah. All work, no play. Is there some play involved? I know that they probably have some recreation that they're attached to. So, do you offer recreational activities for your young people?
Yeah, we definitely do. We have an ice skating trip coming up that we're looking forward to, and we also partner with a lot of corporate groups. So when they want to volunteer with us, we don't really have enough room for a whole group of people in the building, but what we do is we have them take the young people out bowling or rock climbing or any one of a number of things that they can do around the city.
Mhm. How are you able to get your hands on these young people?
Mostly the other young people find them and bring them, so they'll be signing in on for dinner and the group will part and they'll be like, oh, we brought you this person. But
Mhm.
then they also, they find us online, that's where a lot of young people are these days. And then they also, they find us through other organizations. We get calls from teachers and guidance personnel.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't care what you tell me. Word of mouth is still good, still effective, even in 2022. That you could have social media, you could have marketing, but word of mouth is still a great marketing, a great marketing tool. I know you have staff, but also in addition to staff, I know that you also use volunteers. So, how's the volunteer population, and how many volunteers do you work with?
Well, amazingly, we actually have over 2,000 volunteers on our list, but they work in a variety of capacities. So of course, they're not all here in the building. We have a rotating crew of volunteers that work in the kitchen. And so many people first starting out will sign up for kitchen shifts. But then we also have volunteers, we have recently had a couple people who work in the field doing tax prep. So they came over to do taxes for clients. We have people who do tutoring. We have people who run groups. We have our creative writing person, for instance, as a volunteer. So there's a lot of different ways, or we even sometimes have just single things, like we have a young person who moves into an apartment and they need help mounting their TV,
Mhm.
that kind of stuff, so it really depends on what an individual's skill set and what they can bring to the table.
So, where do you get your volunteers from? And if somebody's out there watching right now and saying, "Listen, this may be something I'm interested in," what's the criteria for a person to volunteer?
There's pretty much nothing. We don't have a specific criteria. You just have to be, open-minded and willing to work with the young people. You can sign up on our volunteer page, which is on our website, www.newalternativesnyc.org. And we have everyone from high school students to seniors, so it's a real range.
Yeah. For you, as a director, obviously you see a lot of young people come across your building, your desk, interact with a lot of people. Give me a little bit about what you feel the impact you're making in addressing this underserved population.
I think I can definitely see the impact every day just by looking around my office, because several of my staff are former clients who are now, adults living in their apartments, and my assistant's waving from across the room. But yeah, so, I definitely, and, certainly others of our, you know, young people who are now well into their lives check in every now and then and, say, hey, I just bought a house, or, whatever it is.
That's awesome. Well, you're providing healthy alternatives. And for those that don't know, I'm talking to Kate Barnhart. She's the director of New Alternatives for Homeless LGBT Youth. And we thank you for the work that you're doing in serving this underserved population and bringing them some much needed resources. Kate, it's been a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you.
All righty. We want to let you know, Kate, that we are going to tell our people that they can get more information about New Alternatives. All they got to do is go to the website, newalternativesnyc.org. And then also, yes, Facebook, and also, I should say not Instagram, but Twitter. You can go to New Alternatives and find out more information about this wonderful organization.